3 objects that were shot down by the military were not related to the Chinese spy program at all, and in fact were more likely something domestic and hobbyistic of sorts, with the allegation right now that one of them may even be a $12 science experiment from a local balloon club. But we'll talk about that and what that means and, well, what we just spent all of our money on. So that's going to be the top story for the day. We'll go over some of that. In other news, a multi-alarm fire burns through a home in Arden Heights on Staten Island after we had the Kissimmee, Florida fire, and after we have 2 train derailments that caught national news. So we'll be talking about that and what that means, and hopefully that nobody was hurt. Let's see. The Michigan State gunman's note possibly had motives, so we might actually know what happened there, and, well, we'll see if this is going to be a big story or if this is going to be something that does wind up carrying things around and taking this back off the news. And a GOP senator places on hold a Biden DOD nominee over the Pentagon's new rule about allowing 3 weeks of abortion care to travel to states that have abortion laws from states that don't allow it at all. It is going to be all this and more. I got more votes than Kevin McCarthy. I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. I don't know why, but that particular version of the Lower Brinstar theme kind of sounds like we're about to watch a cop show in the 70s. It's not as much, by the way, as, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Insane in the Rain music. He did a jazzy version that sounded even more like a 70s cop drama, but this one just, that's what I get off of this, is 70s cop. But anyway, we've got a lot to go over here today. Well, actually, maybe not so much. I actually thought this might have been a bit of a shorter program here today, but still a bunch to go over. Plus, today at the end of the show, we'll be looking in at the live chats that you guys are putting out there today, and even looking back and saying a thank you to the people who chatted in the live chat throughout the week. Get this up on the camera for the YouTube viewers, because we weren't quite getting there off of that. Yeah, we'll be reading some of these live chat names. You guys have had enough people chatting, by the way, that we've gotten into a second column. We haven't had that, I don't think, since I moved. So thank you for getting some more people in here and getting some more chat, some more views. We'll see if we can't get to that 10, 15 viewer threshold like we were at before we left. I'd like to see if we can get daily ignoramus numbers again, because that would be the peak growth here. And I don't know what's going to be happening in the future. I am going to be looking into options as to possibly change a time slot again. I know we shouldn't keep doing this kind of stuff like that, but I am going to be probably changing something in my life in the very near future. So, well, we'll sit back, we'll see, and we'll watch what's happening here. But for now, it's not about me, it's about the news, and we've got plenty to go over here today over in Contemporary. Before we get started, make sure you guys go check out great programming such as the Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, the Porch Boys. Go check out Tweets by Brit, Mr. Behavior, the No Gimmicks Podcast, and more, as we come together to form a coalition to bring you a better news and culture experience. That's right, news and culture from the common man for the common man. So go check out all that great programming. They are all great people. They all deserve your views, and I can personally attest for all of them. And let's get started into the news of the day. starting with the Dow. There we go, got that up here. And let's have a look. Bring this back out here so we can see what the actual chart says. The Dow turning itself up into the positive for the day. The Dow is at 33,826.69. That is up 129.84 points, or up a little bit over 1/3%. 0.39 is what we are up for the day. So it's looking like we've shaken off some of the negative inflation news here, or a lot of people just came in and tried to honk and make this look good. Now, we're still notching a third straight week of losses. So it's not looking good as far as the year to date, but on the day, it's just like, oh yeah, hey, we crested it, we beat it again. So we'll be talking a bit about that and what happened there. No IBD article today, by the way. We are in CNBC, and then we've got another layoffs article here. Oof. I think we are going to talk about some of that at the end of the show, but yeah, Booty Judge, he loves running trains. He sure does. I still remember that joke, by the way, when we started off in this, when Booty Judge was first nominated, and the reasoning was literally because he loved trains, and you know, with the obvious thing out there that I probably can't say on YouTube, it's oh hey, well let's make that joke here. He does love to screw seamen too. Looking in at your Bitcoin is at 24,637 even. That is up $1,120 and 90 US cents, or almost 5% on the day. So that came roaring back after having a very, very rough week. So we'll continue to watch this and see how long it takes us to get back to the 67,000 mark. That'll be interesting. Looking in at the gas prices of Madison, no news. What's nice about this is we can actually make this really easy because, all right, we're done. It's over. We're finished. It's exactly the same as it was yesterday. So good news there. No wild swings, although I'd still like to see a wild swing downward, but at least it's holding steady and it's not gouging us at, well, it's still gouging us at the pump, but it's not going worse, which I do fear it's going to be coming in the near future. Let's grab one from CNBC. Dow closes more than 100 points higher on Friday, but notches third straight week of losses on rate fears. Live updates from Carmen Reinecke and Ha-Kyung Kim. U.S. stocks were mixed on Friday as stubbornly high inflation and a rebound in rates continued to weigh on investor sentiment. The Dow rose 129.84 points, or 0.39%, and at 33,826.69. The 30 stock index rallied from lows of the day, boosted by shares of Amgen and United Health, which gained 2.69% and 2.41% respectively. The S&P shed 2.28% and the day at 4079.09, and the Nasdaq fell 0.5% to close at 11,787.27, which is weird because those two were disproportionately higher as everything was changing and going forward. So it looks like they caught themselves back up and averaged back out. Energy was the biggest laggard. Devon Energy dropped 4.29%, dragging down the S&P. Yields on the 10-year and 2-year U.S. Treasury bonds hit levels not seen since November. Weighing on equities earlier this season, stocks are mixed this week. The Dow ended down 0.13 for the week, its third negative week in a row, a first since September. The S&P has shed 0.28 for the week, its second negative week in a row. The Nasdaq rose 0.59 on the week. Oh. Grant, do you have a book or something? This is good. I like this kind of stuff. Investors continue to worry about how the economy and equities will hold up as the Federal Reserve hikes rates to tame stubbornly high inflation. In a Friday speech, Federal Reserve Governor Michelle Bowman says there's a long way to go before the central bank reaches its target of 2% inflation. You think? I'd really like to see some negative inflation for a little while. I know that's a pipe dream, but still. We've been in a very contentious tug-of-war between the equity markets and the treasury markets, said Art Hogan, chief market strategist at B. Riley. While treasuries are signaling that the Fed is going to hold rates higher for longer, equities are not listening and instead looking for a soft landing. Equity investors seem to be looking through a couple more rate hikes and looking forward to a pause, he added. The moves come after major averages shed more than 1% on Thursday, after the Labor Department said the Producer Price Index, an inflation metric that tracks wholesale prices, rose 0.7 last month. That was more than economists expected. Next week, investors will continue to watch earnings seasons for signs of consumer strength or weakness. Home Depot, Walmart, and Etsy are scheduled to report results next week, and that is going to be the big one. That's really going to be how we track what's going on with inflation and how it's affecting the American people. They can talk about the jobs all they want. They can talk about wages rising historic levels not seen since... Well, let's be frank, they haven't been seen like that since the Trump era, but they're going to come back and try to say 80s or 90s or under some Democrat that we liked at the time. Well, what's really going to put everything into perspective is how much people are spending on retail. And I don't think it's going to be good. I hate to say it, I don't think it's going to be good. Walmart might still pull up because of food, but Home Depot and Etsy, I fear, are going to be weak on this one. But that's where we're at for that. And let's grab one in the layoffs sector. From TechCrunch, tech layoffs are creating a new era of scrappy and humbled founders. From Natasha Mascarenhas. Oh, I suppose this one's behind a paywall. Well, that'll just give us time to get back into the regular news because, hey, we're not going to paywall. Well, it's too late to archive it anyway, so... Well, no layoffs news today, I guess. Still, 9 out of 10 days we had layoffs news. How terrible is that? How terrible is that for our country, by the way? I don't know. Let's look in at the main news of the day. We're going to start here with a blaze. Biden says 3 objects shot down by military were not related to Chinese surveillance. I make no apologies, man. From Carlos Garcia. President Brandon said that 3 of the 4 objects shot down by the military were likely not spy devices, but other research objects related to weather data collection. Speculation has run rampant since one large Chinese spy balloon was detected in Montana, floating across the U.S. before it was shot down off the coast of South Carolina on February 4th. Biden made the comments from the White House on Thursday to reporters. Come on, give me the read more. There we go. And we've got video of it. So let's just cut to that.
Well, Glenn, we know the president has been getting a lot of pressure to explain to the American people what is going on. This was really unprecedented. We're talking about the U.S. shooting down 4 objects from airspace. Well, now we know, according to the president, only the first balloon was linked to China.
We'll act to protect our country.
2 weeks after the U.S. military shot down a Chinese spy balloon and then 3 other unidentified aerial objects, President Biden is trying to reassure the American people.
But make no mistake, if any object presents a threat to the safety and security of the American people, I will take it down.
The president says the U.S. military is still collecting debris from those 3 downed aerial objects in Alaska, Canada, and Michigan, and U.S. intelligence is still trying to figure out what they are.
We don't yet know exactly what these 3 objects were, but nothing right now suggests they were related to China's spy balloon program or that they were surveillance vehicles from any other country.
Speaking from the White House, the president said the objects were shot down to protect commercial flights and people on the ground. The investigation so far reveals they were being used for weather purposes and tied to private companies or research institutions. The Chinese balloon floated over the U.S. for almost a week before it was shot down off the coast of South Carolina. The president today sent a defiant message to China, saying this was a violation of U.S. sovereignty and that he hopes to speak to Chinese President Xi about the incident.
Now, we'll also continue to engage with China, as we have throughout the past 2 weeks. As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War.
The president also says he is now working with his administration to come up with new policy parameters going forward so that the U.S. is not routinely scrambling to shoot objects out of the sky. All right, so how will they do that? The president says his administration now will start documenting all of the objects that are flying over the U.S. so they know exactly what is up there and then in the future determine if there's any real threat. Live in the newsroom, I'm Sandra Mitchell. Glenn, Lou, back to you.
Well, that might be the first time I've ever had a package delivery while I'm on air live, so that's that was a first. But listening out here to Biden, that's it's he makes no apologies for shooting stuff down. So that's where we're at. But coming here from the New York Post, UFO shot down by $400,000 U.S. missile may have been a $12 hobby balloon, according to a report from Catherine Donlevy. One of the UFOs shot down last week by the U.S. Air Force with a $400,000 missile may have been simply a $12 balloon belonging to an Illinois enthusiast club, a report said. The Northern Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade told Aviation Week on Thursday that it fears one of the diligently tracked gas bags that recently went missing was mistaken as a mystery object taken out by the military over Canada on Saturday. Well, I gotta say that if you're just hobbyists and you have a $12 balloon, well, the first thing I'm going to say is that's impressive because that went a ways. The Pico balloon, a silver-coated, cylindrically shaped object, reported its last position at 38,910 feet off the west coast of Alaska on Friday. By Saturday, based on the balloon's projected path, it would have been over the same central part of the Yukon Territory. Around the same time, military Lockheed Martin F-22 shot down an unidentified object of a similar description and altitude in the same Canadian vicinity, the outlet reported. The NIBBB, a group of enthusiasts dedicated to creating and releasing and tracking homemade balloons, declared the K9YO device missing in action on Saturday. The K9YO balloon had circumnavigated the globe 6 times during a 123-day span before its tracking device went dark on Friday. Such balloons usually float around until they're brought down by bad weather or damaged. NIBBB's balloon was equipped with a small GPS transmitter and an antenna, allowing the group to track it with a ham radio. The Air Force used a Signed-Wider missile on their targeted attacks against the Chinese spy balloon down earlier this month, and the mystery UFOs taken down last week, Fortune reported each missile comes at a price tag of roughly $400,000. Pico balloons, however, typically fall between $12 and $180 each, depending on the type, Aviation Week reported. The U.S. downed airborne objects over Alaska on Friday and Lake Huron on Sunday, in addition to Saturday's takedown. Well, I gotta say, just by the material, I don't think this was a $12 balloon. If it's as big as the pilots say they were, and if this is the actual object that they're talking about. But I'm a little bit more impressed by the fact that it went west. Because typically, like a balloon, and I don't know enough about the logistics and what it is that this group does, if they've actually got a control on this at some point. But typically, when you're not doing a powered vehicle, it is harder to go west than it is to go east. And yet they're saying that this went from Illinois all the way up to the Yukon Territory. Let's get the map up here. And let's have a look. Oops. I want to cue that up first. I don't know where the NIBBB is, by the way, either. I'm going to look that up over here while we're doing that. Wow, they've actually got balloons all over the world, it looks like. We're going to look at this for a second, but I want to, before I do anything, I want to see where they're based out of, where they're located out of. Where are you starting from? Winnetka. Oddly enough, I know where that is. That's where the Home Alone house is, by the way, just so you know. So we've got the map, Illinois. So coming from over here, Winnetka, which is in this area here. I think it's a little bit further down. Yeah, because it's over here. It's hard for me to tell from this angle, but I know it's over in this region. This is actually in the same region, by the way, where the leftoid shooter, that the 4th of July shooter was down here. Yeah, right down. Oh, I guess it's further down than I thought. Yeah, Winnetka right there. So coming from there, and they say that this balloon got shot down from there, somewhere over the Yukon here. But, and the reason that I brought the website over here when we saw that they're launching from Winnetka is, let's go back up to the top here, that they've actually got stuff all over the globe, including, yes, up in Alaska and down in here. So I guess this shouldn't be that surprising, except for the fact that, yeah, for $12, you're getting your mileage out of the thing, that's for sure. And it also does make me curious, again, on how much actually is, how much of what we saw this past week was coming from these people or a similar group. I'm sure that there's more than one group like this around the country. Hey, look, there are infidels even going over Saudi Arabia. All right. So, $180 balloon. Well, I'm going to go on the high end. I know that the New York Post and the Blaze and people like that want to talk about the low end. I'm going to go on the high end on that and just say $180 balloon versus $500,000 Sidewinder, plus the jet fuel to get it there. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal to me. All right. Let's keep going here. Let's talk about what happened in New York today. From Staten Island, firefighter trio seriously injured in windswept Staten Island inferno, 22 members hurt. From Miles Miller and NBC New York staff. This is another story that would have been confined to just a local story, had it not been for the fact that we just had a major fire in Kissimmee at a plastic pot processing plant and then plant nursery, which probably has some food on it, right after we spilled a bunch of toxic chemicals on Ohio, and another train derailment happened in Michigan. There are certain stories like that, this that would have never left the localities had it not been for the fact that they're just so grouped, so tight together. But this is from Miles Miller and NBC New York staff. 22 firefighters were hurt, 3 of them severely, after a fire erupted at a private home on Staten Island Friday and spread to the building next door, triggering a 4th alarm and a collapse, department officials say. The FDNY says a call about a fire in the Shotwell Avenue in Arden Heights came in around 1:30 p.m. Flames extended next door and a collapse was reported in the back of the structure as more backup was called. As the firefighters were inside searching for occupants, the window failed and the wind blew at fire intensely into the building. Right at the firefighters' chief department, John Hodgins, said in a news conference at Staten Island University Hospital. 2 of them became trapped and 1 escaped by jumping from the balcony. Another one issued a mayday on the 2nd floor where he was rescued. A 3rd seriously injured firefighter, a nozzleman, became disoriented when he got hit in the head with something which knocked his gas mask and caused him to inhale smoke, Hodgins said. All of the injured members are expected to survive. Doctors said that they were alert and cracking jokes. Well, that's good. Images from behind the house show the residents completely gutted, a total loss for the family residing inside. Again, not something that I would have normally concerned myself with, except for the fact that this is following right in the heels of the Kissimmee fire. So, got questions. We don't have a lot of details on this released yet. A little bit more here from ABC 7 Eyewitness out of New York City. The FDNY says a total of 22 firefighters have been injured, 3 of them seriously, after part of a burning building collapsed in Staten Island. Video from the Citizen app showed columns of thick black smoke rising from the area. Vincent Palezzi was greeted by the fire as he drove up to his home. His son was inside when the raging fire broke out. They got out and the firefighters arrived within 5 minutes and found heavy fire in the rear of the 88 and 84 Shotwell Avenue. The blaze quickly went to 4 alarms. Members were not trapped in the collapse, but were trapped by the heavy fire. All firefighters were pulled out and accounted for, but over a dozen sustained injuries, so everybody lived. We don't know if everybody's going to live. We've still got some critical conditions. We could have lost 3 members today, but it was thanks to the brave work of our members, including those who went in and saved their fellow firefighters, rescued the trapped members, brought them EMS on the scene, who treated them immediately and brought them to the hospital, which treated them right away, which is why we are able to say that they're stable while critical, FDNY Commissioner Laura Kavanaugh said. So, not a lot more to go over here. Not a lot to say, not a lot to see yet. But this is one I want to watch, because I would not be surprised to see something else pop up off this one. From the Daily Wire. Moving on to talk about Ohio. As requested by Grant, as a matter of fact. From the Daily Wire, this is disgusting. J.D. Vance scrapes creek with stick after train crash. Oily substance emerges in viral video, and we've got a couple other videos of this as well. Footage of J.D. Vance disturbing a creek in East Palestine and causing the chemical bubbles to rise to the surface garnered millions of views as the nation becomes increasingly concerned about the fallout from the nearby Norfolk Southern train derailment. Local and state authorities previously evacuated all residents within 1 mile of the derailment and started a controlled burn of industrial chemicals present on the vehicle to decrease the risk of an explosion, which could have sent shrapnel throughout the small town. Yes, we know about that. In footage posted by Vance on Thursday, the newly elected lawmaker stood next to a small creek in East Palestine. Beyond the dead worms and dead fish observed in the water, Vance used a stick to disturb the bottom of the creek. Moments later, an oily sheen of chemicals emerged from the surface of the water. "This is disgusting," he commented. Let's watch.
Hey guys, so I'm here at Leslie Run, and there's dead worms and dead fish all throughout this water. So, something I just discovered is that if you scrape the creek bed, it's like chemical is coming out of the ground. Can you come here? And let me just show this to people. I don't know if you're going to see this on camera, but watch this. Just see that chemical pop out of the creek. This is disgusting. And the fact that we have not cleaned up the train crash, the fact that these chemicals are still seeping in the ground is an insult to the people who live in East Palestine. Do not forget these people. We've got to keep applying pressure. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
The footage comes after federal and state officials insisted that the water was fine. The EPA said the test results from the village's municipal well sampling showed no water quality concerns, while Mike DeWine announced that tests conducted by the Ohio EPA revealed no detection of contaminants in raw water from the 5 wells that feed into East Palestine's municipal water system. He added that the agency is confident that the municipal water is safe to drink. So, in some fairness, and we're going to watch this video here, I will point out that J.D. Vance actually had to scrape this up. Now, again, I don't want these chemicals in my water, but it does seem that these are heavier than water chemicals, which means they are sinking to the bottom. So they may or may not be running through what's regular streaming, and you would possibly have to come back and actually physically scrape them up to do something. But I mean, spring is coming. People are going to skip rocks. People are going to, well, I'm hoping that people don't swim in this water, but the deer are going to be out here drinking out of this thing and then getting poisoned themselves. Deer hunting is going to be interesting at that time of the year, or when that comes up next time of the year, rather. But what may be getting to the municipal well may not be what's actually in this water that's on the bottom, is where I'm going with that. So we actually may need to do some additional testing and some additional work to it. Let's watch Trisha Mackey.
So once again, would you move? As I'm going to throw another rock right here. Would you stay here? Would you drink that water? Would you be affiliated with this? Would you bathe your kids when it's bubbling up and looking like an oil slick?
Would you? Would you bathe your kids in that? Vance also challenged EPA admin Michael Regan, who visited East Palestine on Thursday, to drink the tap water his agency claimed was safe. If I was living here, I would drink the bottled water for now. Better safe than sorry, especially because it's being provided for free, he told reporters. That's the advice I would give, and again, the residents are going to make their own decisions on this. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm going to say that right off the bat, I wouldn't. Alright, but the EPA admin, he maintains that East Palestine air and water is safe. From ABC News. As the cleanup and investigation continues into the freight train derailment in East Palestine, concerned residents have been pushing government officials for more answers on the state of the surrounding environment. EPA admin Michael Regan spoke with GMA3 about the latest updates on Friday. GMA3 says we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right to it. Why are you confident that it's safe for residents to go back to their homes, and what do you tell people who are still skeptical? Reagan says, first of all, I tell them I'm thankful for state and local and federal coordination and our emergency responders. There have been no loss of life or serious injuries because of this derailment. I understand people's anxiety. Do you? Are you sure? Because you're going to go back to D.C. I've spent time on the ground with families just yesterday and in the community, and I'm confident because we've deployed some of the highest technologies. We have to monitor the air. We have mobile vans in and out of the community. We have stationary air monitors, and we've been in nearly 500 homes testing the indoor air quality. So for homes that have been tested, we are confident that if your home has been tested, you've been given the green light, the air is safe, the state is leading on the testing of the water quality, and I trust that Governor DeWine is saying, which is, if the state has tested your water and you've been given the green light, then that water is safe. But if the state has not tested your water, it's advising that the state is advising that your residents continue to use bottled water. I am advising, by the way, that you continue to use bottled water. So, Mr. Administrator, you were in East Palestine yesterday. You say that you trust the science here. Well, I mean, we're at a point where trust the science. Science means trust the religion. So, there is that. But as a father, would you keep your family there if this was your town? And what were you hearing from residents yesterday? Reagan continues, I spent time in a resident's home yesterday listening to her talk about her experience. She has aging parents that she's taking care of as well. I understand the concerns as a father, as a husband, as a son who has parents over the age of 70. All families should feel their water is safe to drink and the air is clean and breathable in the homes that have been tested. And looking at the data of our advanced technology in terms of air quality and monitoring, if I were in the community, I wouldn't return if state and local and federal government had cleared me to do so. I would not drink the water if the water had not been tested, but if the water has been tested, I trust what the science is saying. I don't. I'm going to be completely honest. I understand what the science exclamation point trademark is saying. And saying, pay no attention here. Come back. Go back into your homes. I wouldn't. From WKBN 27 out of Youngstown. We've got another one. Watch oily film seen in East Palestine Creek from David Sess. Is this the same one that we had? Oh, no, this is a different one. Yeah, look at that.
And I'm like, oh my.
Let's back that up just a bit.
Week, the smoke plume from the controlled burn in East Palestine has been the picture of the situation in the village. That's probably not going to change, ever. But a new picture has emerged, giving people a sense of the situation. And today I put on boots and went into the water to show you. I grabbed a big stick off the bank of Leslie Run and stirred around the rocks. It takes a few seconds, but moving those rocks releases something, which creates a world of color.
I mean, the whole creek just became that rainbow oil film. And I'm like, oh my, this is a lot worse than what, they're telling us.
Jordan Hostetter first did it when returning home after the evacuation order was lifted. He saw dead fish in the water. His father doesn't mind that J.D. Vance did the same thing they've been doing for close to 2 weeks.
I was very glad to see that because I didn't know that anybody else knew that, That's why I wanted this to be known.
A smell comes up when the water changes color, too. Marty says he grew up playing in Leslie Run. 2 miles downstream, it runs into another stream and then into something larger. Hostetter is concerned about anyone downstream.
And if unknowingly someone goes into that, who knows what that can cause, Because if it sticks to the rocks, it's going to stick to your shoes and your clothes and skin, whatever,
Back at the Hostetter home, just 2 miles south of East Palestine, the name has been on the property's deed for over 100 years. They're watching Leslie Run close and hope to see some change. Right now, they feel conditions are pretty bad.
This is our water. I mean, this is what we drink out of. My kids swim in it. It's enjoyable, and it's all destroyed.
And by the way, the Hostetters had their well water tested yesterday, but those results won't be ready for another week.
Yeah. I wouldn't be going back. Again, this is just me talking. I'm a guy in a microphone in a relatively safe area of Wisconsin. All right, some more video of what's happening here.
On Monday, we told you that the Mill Creek Metro Parks is considering ways to decrease.
Silence you. Footage shows highly contaminated water in Ohio after train derailment.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
Yeah, look
It's
at
all
that.
in the bottom of the creek bed.
And your government is telling you this is fine.
Now look at it. But they burned all the chemicals off of there, right?
That's what I heard, yeah.
Throw a match.
Maybe off the top.
Throw a match. I want to see if it burns. And I'm being dead serious right now. I want to see if it burns.
Wow.
Look at all that.
Look at it.
It's all in the bottom of the creek bed.
Might be able
Now
to go
look
pick up
at
something
it.
from a steel in East Palestine, according to Luke Weed. Maybe it'll become an industrial park. Maybe they'll just bulldoze the city.
But they burned all the chemicals off of there, right?
That's what I heard, yeah.
All right. From the Daily Wire. It's worth a shot. Rand Paul approves of Ohio governor posing as Zelensky to get federal assistance. That's funny. From Hank Marion. After someone on social media roguishly suggested that Ohio GOP Governor Mike DeWine put on a mask of President Volodymyr Zelensky to obtain federal assistance after the train disaster in East Palestine, Senator Rand Paul responded approvingly. DeWine revealed on Thursday that he had asked the Biden admin for FEMA assistance but had been denied. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine spoke with officials at the White House early this morning to address the need for federal help. DeWine's office said in a statement, as a result of this conversation, the governor has requested assistance. We talked about that yesterday. The DeWine administration has been in daily contact with FEMA. We talked about that yesterday. Ohio was able to get some assistance through the Department of Health and Human Services that can assist residents who need medical care as a result of the fallout from the derailment and toxic burn. Dan Tierney, a spokesperson for DeWine, told Fox News on Thursday. On Friday, Paul reacted to a meme reading Ohio's governor after Biden denied his request for disaster assistance with a doctored photo showing DeWine wearing a Zelensky mask. Oh, that's actually really funny. I like that. I mean, it's worth a shot. That took me by surprise. I didn't look at that meme for the first before I looked at this. All right. What else do we do here? From WKBN 27 out of Youngstown again, which apparently it's snowing in Youngstown. Ohio Senator asked DeWine to declare East Palestine as a disaster. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. On Thursday, U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown sent a letter to Mike DeWine calling on him to officially declare a disaster in East Palestine and seek the full support of the federal government to bolster the state of Ohio's ongoing cleanup efforts. Yeah, I mean, he can do that, but Biden already said absolutely not. Brown wrote the following statement in regard to the incident. A man-made disaster of this scale, scope, and significance necessitates a response that and deployment of resources that are commensurate in scale and scope. I'm grateful for all that the Ohio EPA, US EPA, Ohio Emergency Management Agency, local firefighters, and local law enforcement have done to respond to this unprecedented disaster. But it's critical that we act quickly to supplement those efforts. Additional federal resources can and should play a critical role in helping our fellow Ohioans get back on their feet and ensure their community is a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. Or, alternately, they move everybody out of there after the property values plummet, everybody loses their ass on their houses, and they bulldoze the place and make a shiny new industrial park. Maybe it'll be for Intel chips, who knows? And yeah, he should be declaring this as a disaster. I can't believe he didn't, if he hasn't already. That should have been like first thing. Joe Manchin getting in on this from Fox News. Democrat Joe Manchin hits Biden admin for East Palestine response. From Adam Sabes. Oh, don't lurk, KTZed. Well, don't text and drive first, but come back in. We're going to read live chat at the end of this. Get spicy. Have fun. A train with 50 rail cars, 10 of which were carrying vinyl chloride, derailed in East Palestine on February 3rd. The derailment caused hazardous chemicals to spill onto the ground and sent a plume of smoke into the air. In the days after the derailment, a controlled release of chemicals was conducted because of the risk of major explosion, officials said. Residents were evacuated before the controlled release was performed. How dare you! You've stolen my dreams and my... Oh wait, no, we don't do that for this because it's a Democrat that's running everything. Let's see. Manchin said that while he's pleased the EPA admin Michael Reagan visited the site on Thursday, it's not acceptable that it took 2 weeks for a senior admin official to show up. Well, we were all too busy talking about the stupid-ass balloons. Manchin is also asking Biden and Pete Buttigieg to provide a full picture of the damage, as well as a plan to make sure it never happens again. Well, he's going to go judge butts, and then he's going to come back to the White House and never have to worry about it. So, you want some good news on this one? This will be the last one that we do on this story. Some good news, though. And I didn't cover this on the first day that it happened. But it happened. Charges dismissed against News Nation reporter who was arrested at East Palestine press conference. From Selena Tibor. The criminal charges filed against the News Nation reporter who was arrested while reporting at the news conference in East Palestine have been dropped. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost announced on Wednesday. Well, why were they even brought forward in the first place? Evan Lambert McMichael was arrested after reporting live during a news conference last week held by Mike DeWine and other officials who were updating the train derailment in East Palestine. Body camera footage shows officials approaching Lambert McMichael and asking him to stop his reporting as it was too loud during the press conference. The footage also shows the argument breakout and Ohio National Guard's Adjutant General, Major General John Harris, approaching and pushing Lambert McMichael. And you don't think that these people are just going to follow orders and go after you. I like Sewell's optimism. I like his rosy pie in the sky idea that the military, they're not just going to follow orders, they'll just mass desert. I don't think so, Scooter. Lambert McMichael was charged with resisting arrest, a second-degree misdemeanor, and criminal trespass, a fourth-degree misdemeanor, according to Yost. While journalists could conceivably be subject to criminal charges for trespassing in some situations, the incident is not one of them. Yost wrote in a statement, "The reporter was lawfully present at the press conference called by the governor of the state. His conduct was consistent with the purpose of the event and his role as a reporter." Yeah, it was. So, good on him for actually getting out and turning it back around. And that's what we have on Ohio. I like that, though. Just pretend to be Zelensky, then they'll give you federal aid. Alright, let's talk about Michigan State. Michigan State University gunman's note had possible motive from Joey Capoletti and Mike Householder. The man who shot 8 students at a Michigan State University, killing 3, was found with 2 handguns and a note containing a possible motive for the attack, police said on Thursday. The 9mm guns, dozens of rounds, and the 2-page note were found with Anthony McRae when he killed himself Monday night after being confronted by police, the campus deputy chief said, campus deputy chief Chris Roseman. Check the handwriting. Check the handwriting, I'm telling you right now. Investigators say they're still trying to pin down a motive 3 days after the violence at the 50,000 student campus in East Lansing, but the note was a key point. It appears, based on the content of the note, that he felt he was slighted in some way by people or businesses. Rosman said at a news conference, did a mental health issue amplify that, or was it a component of that? Component of that. Wow, I can read today. We're not sure at this point. We're working our best to try to determine that as best as possible. McRae, 43, was the lone shooter and had no connection to the victims or to Michigan State as a student or employee, the police said. Rosman described the investigation as massively complex. I know I heard a rumor, and I've never been able to confirm it, but did he not They said that he tried to apply for a job there and was told he wasn't qualified. I don't have confirmation on whether or not that's true, but that's been one of the rumors that's been swirling around. So maybe we will know. I don't know if the letter has been released. No, it doesn't appear that, at least the Associated Press doesn't have a link to it, so they don't show it, they just go right down into the advertisements. Let's check on this reporting here. Let's see what it is, because we've got some remembrance here.
Alexandria Verner was in her junior year and came from the small town of Clawson, Michigan. Her high school principal told us she was an excellent student in addition to playing 3 sports and taking part in school leadership groups. He says her kindness was on display every second you were around her. She was, he says, everything you'd want your daughter or friend to be. Brian Fraser was a sophomore from the Detroit suburb of Grosse Pointe. He was a member of Phi Delta Theta fraternity. His sister tells the Detroit Free Press that their family isn't ready to speak, but said she doesn't want her brother's name forgotten and called Brian a light in their lives. Ariel Anderson was a junior, also from the Detroit area, in the same school system as Brian Fraser. Her family tells local station WXYZ that she loved children, wanted to be a pediatrician. Her grandmother tells the Free Press that Ariel was kind and loving, caring, compassionate, and driven.
So that's some remembrance. Definitely something to pay attention to. Because even if bad things happen, I mean, the people here were innocent. Alright. Let's grab this one here from Politico. We're almost done. We're almost ready to go into the live chat, you guys. So tell some friends, get some more people in here, and let's liven up the live chat. We've got this coming back out again from Politico. DC Police Lieutenant delivered pre-January 6 tips for Ontario and the Capitol Police. Proud Boys lawyer says. From Kyle Cheney. In the weeks before January 6, 2021, Pride Boys leader Enrique Tarrio shared information about his group's planned activities with a DC police lieutenant, who then passed it along to a top intelligence official. At the U.S. Capitol Police, Tarrio's attorneys indicated on Wednesday. Does anybody out there, by the way, question whether or not this dude is a plant? Sabino Jarugua, Tarrio's lawyer, said he hoped to show jurors messages between Lieutenant Shane Lamond and the Capitol Police Intelligence Unit's director, Jack Donahue, that passed along information Tarrio had provided. His comments amid the seditious conspiracy trial of Tarrio and 4 other Pride Boys leader were meant to blunt the suggestion that by prosecutors that Lamond, a 22-year veteran of the Metro Police Department, routinely passed along sensitive information to Tarrio and rarely got anything from Tarrio in return. The messages were the latest twist on the trial that charges Tarrio and 4 other Pride Boys conspired to violently prevent the transfer of power from then President Trump to Joe Biden, who, and of course Politico has to put in their editorialization, who honk-honked the 2020 election. Tarrio, because of his arrest, was not in Washington during the riot, but he remained in contact with other leaders who marched on the Capitol and were present at some of the most significant breaches as the mob approached the building. And by the way, Tarrio is also in several different places. In Portland. He was in Kenosha. He was in Chicago when those riots broke out. He was in Minneapolis. You ever notice he's always there when something that the left wants you to pay attention to happens? When they want to say, right-wing extremism, my right-wing extremism. You ever notice he's always there? Always. What is coming out of this? Honestly, I think that this was him communicating and getting his orders from the Capitol Police. If you want to know the honest truth of it, I don't trust the Proud Boys. I've never trusted the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys and Patriot Front, who just always seem to happen to show up while there's cameras around and do things. I don't trust any of it. From the Hill, Pentagon to allow up to 3 weeks of leave to service members for abortion travel. From Julia Shapiro. The Pentagon will allow service members up to 3 weeks of leave to travel for abortions and other non-covered reproductive health care, according to a slate of new policies announced on Thursday. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin just announced in October that the Defense Department would provide leave to and reimburse service members for travel required to access reproductive health care. The 3 policies released on Thursday provide an additional detail and guidance on how these directives will function. Service members can take up to 21 days of leave to receive or accompany a military spouse or dependent to receive a non-covered reproductive health care, which includes abortions and assisted reproductive technology. However, they are limited to the minimum number of days required to receive care and travel in the most expeditious means possible. Reimbursements are similarly limited to the costs associated with traveling to the closest available medical facility that provides the procedure. So they're not going to go from like Virginia to California or something, basically. Commanders and other authorities are urged to grant the request for leave unless it interferes with the proper execution of the military mission, and act promptly and with discretion given the time-sensitive nature of the reproductive services. Commanders or approval authorities are expected to display objectivity, compassion, and discretion when addressing all healthcare matters, including reproductive healthcare matters, and have a duty to enforce existing policies against discrimination and retaliation in the context of reproductive healthcare choices, the policy noted. Now, number 1, because this is a federal agency, are you surprised? But number 2, why is this a priority for building a military? I don't understand. I've never understood what the wokeism of the military. I know that they're trying to get a completely different crop of people in here who might follow orders when they decide to turn the guns on the American people, but I mean, this is not doing any favors to what I think that you guys think that this is going to do. Make you a more efficient fighting force against people who have been training and cleaning firearms for their entire lives. And I do think that there is an aspect of the military, the government getting ready to turn the military on its own people. I don't know if that's the case, but it does seem like they're trying to get and shuffle out some of the more conservative rural members and pull in a new crop of transgender urban members. One of the interesting sides of that, though, from Fox News, GOP Senator places hold on Biden's DOD nominees over Pentagon's new abortion policy. From Brianna Herlihy. Before we read into this, I don't know how far this is going to go. I think that they'll still find a way to go push this forward, but it's kind of funny regardless. Tommy Tuberville will place on hold all military and civilian nominations before the Senate as a way of protesting the Pentagon's new policy of paying for travel costs for service members to get an abortion. The Secretary of Defense, I think it's any base grant, so I think that it's not just for the Pentagon, but I think it's for everybody in the military around the country. But I do get what you're saying. I thought the same thing at the beginning. Yeah, the Pentagon is issuing the order. The Secretary of Defense is following through with his radical plan to facilitate thousands of abortions a year with taxpayer dollars, Tuberville said in an exclusive statement to Fox News Digital. So I will follow through with my plan to hold all DoD civilian flag general officer nominations that come before the U.S. Senate. And by the way, we are saying goodbye to Instagram at this point with 15 seconds left before the video cuts out. So thank you again. Check the link in the description and come back and join us next time on Contemporary. Take care. As I've stated, if Secretary Austin wants to change the law, he should go through Congress. This is an illegal expansion of DoD authority and a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars. and I will hold him accountable. The American people want a military focused on national defense, not facilitating a progressive political agenda. Yeah. I think most of them just want a career path for kids who can't make it to college. If I'm being completely honest. Tuberville's hold means the Senate will not be able to quickly approve Biden's nominees by unanimous consent, as the Senate often does. Instead, the Defense Department's nominees will require a formal Senate vote, which could make these nominations more difficult to approve. Senate Democrats already have a slim 51-49 majority, which means a few missing Democrat senators could be enough to tank some of Biden's nominees. Just this week, John Fetterman checked himself into Walter Reed over clinical depression, raising more questions about the Senate's near-term ability to approve Biden's nominees. Not only that, they can't count on Sinema anymore. I think she's still going to caucus with them and vote with them most of the time, but it's not a 51-49. I think it's 48-49, because Angus King, Bernie Sanders, and Kyrsten Sinema, which Angus King and Bernie Sanders all are in lockstep with Democrats, but Kyrsten Sinema is a bit of a wild card right now, so I don't know. That's a gruesome question. From WGN9. We'll wait till the end of the show for that one, which is actually coming up. We only got a couple more articles here. Lightfoot's new policy aims to help formerly incarcerated residents to get hired by the city. So people who should not be working for the government in jobs that should not exist are now going to have jobs with the government. From Jewel Hillary and Andrew Smith. Mayor Lightfoot announced a new set of policy changes to make it easier for formerly incarcerated residents to get hired by the city of Chicago. Through the new background check policy, Lightfoot is encouraging people who are getting back on their feet after serving time to consider the city's job opportunities. That's right, just let the government take care of you from cradle to grave. Under the new policy, the city can't dismiss a candidate from the hiring process for a number of red flags that might come from a background check. Some of those include any conviction for decriminalized content, including conduct associated with marijuana. Potential employees can't be dismissed from an employment consideration for arrests that didn't lead to convictions, and convictions from the juvenile justice system. Lightfoot said that all city job postings will include language stating having a prior arrest or conviction doesn't make job candidates ineligible for city roles. I think that there are a few that it should be, namely cops. She's also encouraging the private sector to consider hiring formerly incarcerated people who are eligible for job openings. Yeah, wouldn't you like the serial kitty diddler who got out on good behavior working in your kindergarten? Yeah, Grant knew where I was going with that. Bring those folks home, Lightfoot said. Give them an opportunity at good-paying jobs with benefits. This is how we keep people off the street. We stop the pipeline to illegal economy, and we build our city to be fair and more equitable than ever before. And by the way, I do think that, for the most part, a factory job shouldn't be out of reach for people. Depending on what it is your qualifications are for, an office job, data entry, should not be something you're disqualified for. A plow driver, maybe. That would depend on the offense. But again, I don't necessarily believe that, as was mentioned as we were talking about this, I don't necessarily think that the serial rapist should be your kindergarten teacher. Well, that's exactly who you want working for your city accounting, especially in that city. New policy doesn't impact the city's fire and police departments because of course they don't. This is just fantastic. U.S. envoy apologizes for tweeting that Afghan women need black girl magic. I think that we have the video of this. Do we? No. It's just video headlines. Warning, distressing content. Okay, we won't do that then. The Biden admin's top diplomat to Afghanistan apologized Thursday for a cringeworthy Twitter post in which she suggested that women in the far war-torn nation needed some black girl magic to overcome the Taliban's oppression. Sometimes our best intentions go awry because we haven't listened enough or don't truly understand others' lived experience. Chargé d'Affaires Christine Decker tweeted on Thursday, "My efforts to celebrate courageous African Americans this month fall in that category. I apologize to any and all who may have been offended or hurt," Decker said. By the way, this is going into Clown World on my Discord. Decker was ridiculed on Wednesday for her attempt to celebrate Black History Month by tweeting from her official account, "Are Afghans familiar with #BlackGirlMagic and the movement it inspired? Do Afghan girls need a similar movement? What about Afghan women? Teach me. I'm ready to learn." The Black Girl Magic hashtag was popularized around 2016 and used on social media to celebrate black women and instill pride in black culture and heritage. The since-deleted tweet went on to tag prominent African-American recording artists Beyonce and Lizzo and actress Regina King. "I'm speechless," Mike Walls of Florida said of Decker's tweet. Bigger picture, replace your deleted tweets to the Afghan girls with U.S. opposition to Taliban not letting them go to school or work. Journalist Emily Miller tweeted in a reply to Decker's apology. Pro tip, stop tweeting and process SIVs. Simone Levy, a senior fellow at Crack Institute for Tech Diplomacy at Purdue, suggested, referring to special immigrant visas that allow Afghans that assisted the U.S. during the war to leave the country. I guess my question here is, what do you think is going to happen to these girls when they do stand up to the government? Do you think the government's going to come in and say, "Oh no, we were wrong the whole time. Yes, of course you can come to our society"? Or will they be forcefully beaten, shackled, and married off to a soldier in the Taliban who was allowed to keep them shackled? Because I'm pretty sure the latter is what's going to happen. Alright. From Reuters, EU lawmakers approve effective 2035 ban on all new fossil fuel cars. From Kate Abnett. Without inventory, by the way, or finance to get them replaced. The European Parliament on Tuesday formally approved a law that to effectively ban the sale of new petrol and diesel cars in the EU from 2035, aiming to speed up the switch to electric vehicles and combat climate change. The landmark rules that will require that by 2035, car makers must achieve a 100% cut in CO2 emissions from new cars sold, which would make it impossible to sell new fossil fuel-powered vehicles in the 27-country bloc. Yeah, I wonder how many of them, by the way, are going to leave the block over this, just out of curiosity. The law will also set a 55% cut in CO2 emissions for new cars sold from 2030 versus 2021 levels, a much higher than existing target of a 37.5%. The operating costs of an electric vehicle are already lower than the operating costs of a vehicle with an internal combustion engine. Jan Whitema, the Parliament's lead negotiator on the rules, said, adding that it was crucial to bring more affordable electric vehicles to customers. I don't know, that initial cost is pretty staggering. EU countries agreed that the deal with lawmakers last October, but still need to formally rubber stamp the rules before they can take effect. Final approval is expected in March. New vans must comply with 100% CO2 cuts by 2035 and a 50% cut by 2030 compared with 2021 levels. Well, good luck. I wish you well. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wish you well. And the last one. Man is arrested after Minnesota Congresswoman assaulted in DC apartment building, police say. From Carl DeVries and Claire Ferran. You know how I know that this had absolutely no political motivation? Because we barely heard about it. Police have arrested and charged a man in connection with the assault of Angie Craig, who was attacked in the elevator of her apartment building on Thursday morning last week, the DC Metro Police Department said in a news release. Kendrick Hamlin, also known as Hamlin Khalil Hamlin, was arrested and charged with simple assault, according to police, who said the 26-year-old has no fixed address. It was not immediately clear whether Hamlin has legal representation while he's homeless, so probably not. The incident occurred at around 7:10 a.m. when the victim defended herself. The suspect fled the scene, according to police. According to the police report, Craig told authorities her assailant had followed her into the elevator, punched her with a closed fist, and grabbed her neck. She defended herself by tossing her hot coffee at him, the report stated. The Minnesota Congresswoman's chief of staff, Nick Coe, said in a statement earlier that Rep. Craig defended herself from the attacker and suffered bruising, but is otherwise physically okay. He added that the assailant fled the scene. There was no evidence that the incident was politically motivated. No, it was some homeless dude who was trying to forcefully get some money so he could go buy booze or food. And again, you know how I know this wasn't politically motivated? Because this isn't splattered across every headline, across every news outlet, and didn't stay there for a week and a half. Alright, let's finish out with a live chat for the day. So, only a couple of people watching right now, but we had a few earlier on. And we will go back, and again, I thank you guys because we got to a second column on the page today. So thank you for that. But let's look through and see what we have coming off of here. On Monday, our top chatters were Randy Crush Saga, Luke B, Grant, Sully Blue, Blind Fear, M Naga, and Into, which was a new name. On Tuesday, our top chatters were Grant, Ron Helton, Luke Wee, Blind Fear, KTZed, MK Ultra, and Spartan 0000 Superior. Wednesday gave us Ron Helton, Arvolt, Grant, Luke Wee, and MK Ultra. And yesterday, our top chatters were Ron Helton, Randy Crush Saga, Grant, Blind Fear, Luke Wee, and Gaines. So let's see what Grant had to say, because Grant was the one that was doing the vast majority of the speaking today. Surprised we didn't see Ron Helton today. He usually likes to get his stuff read aloud. Grant says, I didn't watch cop dramas from the 70s, so I wouldn't know. I didn't watch a lot of them either, but I can recognize like the theme songs of some of them, so. Like Chips. And Shaft. We're going to talk more about Booty Judge and the trains he likes running. No, because that's against YouTube TOS. What is that? Disaster his trains have been. Well, that's an image that's going to keep me up later on. Not to mention earlier in the term when he screwed all those seamen. Booty Judge is just really not on top of all those issues. He's always behind the issues. Heyo! Luke Wee says, I would think that he would be bent over in front of the issue. Grant says he was too busy this week looking for black men in construction. Heyo! Good thing they didn't appoint Booty Judge head of treasury, just like the trains, he might mistakenly be after the wrong inflation. That one was weak. I like you, Grant, but that one was weak. Tattoo Lover is here and says, isn't it funny how middle-aged women in their 50s are running for president, like Nikki Haley and Kamala Harris? No, and some of this is going to become it poll. It definitely is. Luke Wee says, they would never lie about the water, just ask the fish. Property values plummeted there, and he suggests that they would turn it into a garbage dump. I think it's going to be industrial park, actually. KTZed popped in to lurk and drive. Welcome. Grant says, good thing the EPA has never mishandled the water issue. Flint. Gold King mine, water spill. Yeah, the EPA was too busy trying to figure out how to make gas stoves illegal. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Abortion is still allowed in DC, but I mean, this is nationwide as well. So it's just the Pentagon issuing the orders. This just makes women more expensive to have in the military. Plus, of course, remember, this was all about their families too. So a military man, especially top brass, can take off as much time as he needs to go force his girlfriend to have an abortion. So his wife doesn't find out. Who will die first, Fetterman, Biden, or Feinstein? I am going to say Feinstein, but by a very narrow margin. Remember, she is 10 years older, but her dementia is much, much further along. I think Fetterman's going to be fine for a little while. I don't think he's going to stick around in the Senate, honestly. I do think he's going to resign. And then we go talk about what's happening in Chicago. Grant says, you want sex offenders working in the school? You don't want the guy convicted of fraud working in city accounting, which, I mean, it's Chicago, he already does, so that's nothing new. You don't want the drunk driver driving a bus? That also happens in Chicago. The funny thing is, this also exposes things like Black Girl Magic as an empty movement that only thrives in places where the supposed victims aren't oppressed. What will happen is those Taliban guys who've been stuck doing bureaucratic work are going to be excited that they get to do something that isn't paperwork. Mostly a war bride. This policy will fail on the EU, and Luke Wee says he'll be out in no time. Talking about the homeless man in DC, and we are done for the day and for the week. I mean, it's been a week. It's been an interesting one. I mean, we were behind on almost every day, and we did finally get caught up on a slow news day. And we're getting out of here early, too. So, hey, if you got someone you're sweet on, go on a date. Go get out there, enjoy the rest of the night. It's getting warm here. I don't know what the weather's doing where you live, and I know it's dark already, but go enjoy some of this here. It's going to be like 40 tomorrow. I have to work tomorrow, which is lame. But it's going to be like 40 here tomorrow. So, let's head out of here. Partially because I kind of have to pee. Alright, so thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat. It's been a great week. I love seeing your commentary and what you guys have to say over here. If you're over on the Twitch side, stick around. We're going to go find somebody to raid over on that side. Otherwise, be back here on Monday for more news, more headlines, and more contemporary. Weekend stream is up in the air right now because I do have to work tomorrow, but we will see what's happening there. Always look forward to this. Always look forward to going over the news with you guys. It's one of my favorite parts of my day, and I hope that I never, ever, ever have to stop. Although, again, we might be changing time slot here. Stay tuned for more details on that. But we'll be back here, definitely on Monday, for more news and that. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.